Welcome back to sunny southern Indiana, where it's gotten hot on us again all of a sudden. I act surprised every time this happens, but it is that time of year. So today I'm out here solving a problem that I created on myself, where I have a crack in the block of my Deere that you can see I've got hooked to the dyno again. And it had this crack, I think it turns out, from when I had it. And the mistake I made is I set to painting it before I really checked it over mechanically. I made sure it ran and got everything good there, but didn't really check it over. So I had set to trying to find what might be getting coolant in the oil. I first noticed I was getting a gray milkshake on the first oil change. So I read about how it's pretty common for the pushrod tubes on these, especially the unstyled Deeres like this is. This is a 38 for anybody who hasn't watched the other video. This is 38 short frame B. And so I took it apart to try to investigate those tubes in the head, the brass tubes that the pushrods go through. And I didn't find any of those to be problematic. I did go ahead and replace all of them, but and I replaced the head gasket. But I did, while I was in there, I found the crack in the block on the jugs near where they meet the head. So I covered that in JB Weld and filled all that in and sanded it down to try to not have to buy a new block. And it seems that's still not working. I'm still getting coolant in the oil. So I thought. Probably read the title of this video to see that I'm going to put oil in the cooling system. I haven't done that yet. I decided I'd make a study out of this, and I would run coolant versus oil on the dyno to see how long it takes to come up to an unsafe temperature. And so this is something I did a little bit of research. I looked into the space of what's already there, and the only thing I could find that really piqued my interest, at least, was a video by Garage 54. If you all don't know them, go check them out. But they ran a fairly modern engine compared to this, with having replaced the coolant with oil and basically slit the head gasket in a couple places so that the oil and coolant would continue to change places. And basically the results that they found were favorable, but I'm not necessarily convinced that they went to a lot of depth to really run that engine through its paces. And of course, this is a show-only tractor, and everybody that knows me knows that I don't work any of my equipment ever at all beyond what it should be doing. So I expect to come out of this hopefully with a still working tractor beyond just being able to do parade duty and show duty. But I'm not going to be too upset if I don't, because really I should dedicate this as an only show tractor after all the money, time, and energy I spent on paint. But I'm going to do this study anyway. So I'm going to get her gassed up, get her fired up, and we're going to watch and see how fast the temperature rises on coolant as coolant versus oil as coolant. Now then, this isn't Project Farm, so I don't have any fancy timers that are probably $3 or $5 a piece, but that's okay. I've got this John Deere clock, and what better choice? And I'm not able to dual-wield cameras because I've only got one phone, so you're just going to have to trust that I'm going to run the same dyno conditions both ways. So let's get her started. It's not as hot out today, but I don't think that's going to matter. I've filled the radiator with used oil so that I'm not out a bunch of money if I abandon this study. So let's see how she goes. I've got some cleaning up to do. Turns out the CTE of oil is a lot different than water. Alright, as you can see, I'm most of the way cleaned up after myself. I've got a little more detailing to do. I definitely got more than I was bargaining for there. But I did put up some of those plastic barricades that you see at construction sites to control oil spills. And it's not supposed to rain for a few more days, so I'm planning on digging all this up. And I'll probably not post this video until I do that, just because that was kind of an oil spill. So I'll get that cleaned up. And Day 3, I'm redoing the oil. If you ever think you're too poor to own a thermal imaging camera, you're not. You're just not creative enough to own a thermal imaging camera. can see I got the affected soil cleaned up for the most part. Just a little bit more to dig up and get out of the way. I think there's a facility around here I can take this to, so I'll be doing that, and I'll be replacing this with some good fill dirt that I have and planting grass over it. You know, I'm not going to be one of those persnickety people about clean air and the environment and all that, but I don't see any good reason why I should be polluting other people's water. So that's my motivation here. As you saw, I ended up doing a third trial on the oil for coolant in the Deere. Beyond just having to slow down and reassess when oil started flooding out of the top of the radiator, I realized that I wasn't really running it at full load. You know, I looked at the carburetor linkage and the carb wasn't stuck wide open, so obviously she had a little more in her. So ran a third trial and kind of got results that were more along the lines of what I expected, but I don't think that necessarily disqualifies using oil as coolant. I think this isn't an unheard of concept. You know, the Deutz diesels, the 900 series air-cooled, and I think there are some other air-cooled series engines. They really use oil coolers too. So they're using cooling oil to keep the temperatures under check. And those are the famous examples. I know there's a couple Polaris four-wheelers out there that use oil cooling and don't have any water-cooled system on them. So I am going to stick with it for a bit. I'm going to try it out. The Deere is over in the barn. It's getting changed over to sickle bar duty. I'm about 4 weeks late to cutting hay, so we'll be doing that, and we'll be watching the temperatures and see how it goes. But that'll be interesting. I'll keep everybody updated. But in the meantime, I do still have this dyno. It is mine. So any ideas that anybody has, anything you want to see, anything you've ever wanted to see done on a dyno, let me know. This is something I enjoy playing with. I'll still be working on upgrading this dyno to take to tractor shows, but this is a fun hobby for me. So let me know what ideas you've got.